The theme for this discussion is pathways to economic mobility and how to empower young people in career exploration. And we're joined today by three incredible professionals. Randolf Scott is the Deputy Commissioner of the Westchester County Department of Social Services. Deshanna Wiggins, the CEO of the Albany Black Chamber of Commerce and Social Club. And Adam Blasioli, Vice President of Global Philanthropy at JPMorgan Chase. After our first panel, we'll take a quick break before starting our second discussion. And both panels today will be moderated by my colleague, Joey Gollum, Director of Programs and Partnership Development at Metro New York. I now yield the floor to her to get us started. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Sam, and thank you all. I am, again, so honored and so excited to have this conversation with these fabulous panelists. So let's get started. I'd love to just hear from each of you. We gave your title, we gave where you're working right now, but just to share from your voices how you're coming into this conversation, what work you're doing to expand opportunities for young people to create these pathways for economic mobility, what your work has looked like in all of that. So I will pass it to Randy to get us started.
All right. Good morning, everybody. And again, thank you to Joey and Sam and everyone for this great opportunity. For me, being the Deputy Commissioner of Social Services here in Westchester County, one of the areas that I oversee is our workforce division. And within that division, we work with youth ages 18 to, we all youth, right? Even in our old age. So we work with everybody. So, so I won't give an ending age, but we definitely start with 18-year-olds and providing them with opportunities to see how they can become pillars in their communities, whether they're in Mount Vernon, they're in White Plains, Peekskill, and so on and so on. So we offer many different things, from job fairs to opportunities to meet with different vendors who they can possibly work with. And we're actually having a youth fair coming up in August, so that'll be something great that we could pass along to people so that folks will know. But those are some things, and I'll probably answer some more questions just to pass it off to, I guess, Deshanna, or back to you, Joey.
Yeah, Deshanna, you can take it. I can just say, Randy, I love, that we're all young people. When Mentor New York, when we talk about young people, we often say to like 27, 28. I think that's when they say the frontal cortex is fully developed, for those executive function skills and all of that. So definitely a broad range of young people that we can consider in this bucket. So just Deshanna, yeah, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. My name, again, is Deshanna Wiggins, CEO of Albany Black Chamber of Commerce. I am a native to the region. However, I spent the past 16 years in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is where I attended Clark Atlanta University, a historically Black college and university, and mentorship was my life, still is. I stand behind it fully because I know how much it gave to me and how much I plan to utilize that with the chamber. I'm actually gearing up, and Sam and I had this conversation, and Joey, gearing up to start an internship program with the chamber. This region has so many amazing colleges and universities, and unfortunately, that talent is not retained post-graduation. And so it is my desire to see us really impact those young professionals so that they're starting their businesses and they're joining businesses or acquiring businesses in the region and keeping them here. As Randy mentioned, we'll get into that, more into that with the Q&A. But that internship and mentorship is certainly a big deal. And I love that we're having that conversation today.
Great. And Adam.
Thanks, Joey. It's a pleasure to join you all this afternoon. And as mentioned earlier, I'm a member of JPMorgan Chase's Global Philanthropy team, which means that I have the distinct honor of creating some programs and initiatives that not only leverage some of the resources the firm has, but engages our employees in some of the workforce development initiatives we're running in New York State, as well as across the country and globally as well. In New York specifically, that's included some mentorship programs tied to our investments in summer youth employment programs in New York City, supporting fair chance hiring initiatives and providing some mentorship opportunities for court-involved youth, and ensuring that we just have opportunities where our employee base is connected to individuals and communities that represent not only who the firm is serving, but making sure that we're creating those pathways so students understand not only what jobs are available for them now and in the future, but also have the opportunity to explore those careers with mentors, have the opportunity to build skills to ensure that they have those pathways, whether they decide to join us, to join another firm, or to do an entirely different industry. And we've had the pleasure of working with Mentor New York to develop a number of those programs, and excited for today's conversation.
That's great. Thank you all. You can see we have an amazing panel here. And Adam, that was a great kind of segue into my first question for you all, which is that, and we've talked about this, Deshanna, you mentioned an internship opportunity. Randy and Adam, you've both spoke about workforce programs and initiatives that you're working to develop and implement. So what do you believe what is the responsibility, and how should industries, and you're all from various sectors, the public sector, the corporate sector, these intermediaries, how can we create opportunities for young people to see this variety of career opportunities? Adam, we've talked about this with JP Morgan Chase. Young people might have a very set understanding of what it is to work in a bank, but there's just so many roles. And Randy, we spoke about sort of the challenges of getting young people excited to work in the public sector, in service, and also having some misguided thoughts about what it really takes to be working in those fields. So I'm curious from each of you, how do we sort of, decode what this looks like for young people to really get engaged in this way and create those pathways to these different industries? Andy, Adam, excuse me, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, I would say, and I'll throw the legal caveat out that all opinions are expressed are my own and not of the firm's, but I will say, I think one of the important things in the programs and initiatives that I've been involved in, and again, with a lot of the help from Mentor New York, is ensuring that it's just not a one-off opportunity. I think it's important to build that awareness of the careers. To your point, JP Morgan Chase is a massive multinational corporation. We are known as a financial services firm, but we have marketing individuals, we have communicators, we have HR professionals, we have data scientists. We have everything across the gamut of what students may be experiencing in school or may be interested in exploring. And so I think the important factors are to understand that you want to make them aware of where those opportunities are, but you want to connect them to the individuals that are doing those jobs so they know what it is day to day, and they can explore their passions in that area. They can have somebody to talk to just ask questions and really understand what they want to do, and then have the opportunity to start building some of those skills that may allow them to get that internship or to understand what training programs might be out there for them to explore further. And that may or may not be within our remit or our mandate and some of the opportunities that we have, but making sure that we can connect those or allow the students to understand where those opportunities are so they can continue that development and that exposure through the lifetime as they're exploring into adulthood and their career pathways.
And if I could piggyback on what Adam is saying, he's absolutely correct. And, it all goes down to exposure, right? Our youth don't know what they don't know. And sometimes they don't even know what they should be asking. So, it's our job to expose them to the ideas, to the industries, to the training opportunities they have, so that they can participate in those things and know what direction they want to go into. Right. So we've lost 2 years because of the pandemic. And I think we're at a place right now where we could put the pandemic not in the focal point that we've had it, where we can get back in person, because I think that is what is needed in order to help our young people doing things in person versus over the computer, because sometimes over the computer, they don't have that, intimate discussion where they're able to say what they want and what they need to do. So I think having those, and that's things that we're doing here at Westchester County DSS, is bringing back the in-person so that we can get in touch with them to see what they want and then connect them with the various industries that would be beneficial to them. So I think that is very important in terms of that exposure piece.
And if I could piggyback on Randy, I love what he said, is that students or youth don't know what they don't know.
Oh, Deshanna, we lost you for a second with the mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We just heard they don't know what they don't know. So from there, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Students don't know, but humans don't know what they don't know, right? And so I think a lot of times, however, for those who may know, but they don't necessarily know how this particular industry will subscribe to that. So my biggest thing is, how can we be accessible? How do we jump in, is by listening. The days of old, in terms of how the methodologies used to capture people's attention, like pension and things like that, that sounded like a great thing. Now we're living the results of people not being able to access their pension, or it being taken for one reason or the other. So youth are not necessarily gravitated towards that, right? We have to listen to what is important to them, and then shape how we give them the information so it makes sense for them, and that they can put their passions and desires in it. I know as a student, for me, the biggest thing for me was, how does this connect to my own personal and moral goals or goalpost, and how do I make this something that I can do for life, or at least give me the skills that can be transferable to what I want to do for my life. And a lot of times organizations, when they do their mentorship programs or internship programs, they're not really designed. This is the layout, this is how you have to do it, and if you don't, then move along. And I think we can do a better job at finding out what their actual interests are, finding out what is important to them. Because if you find out what's important to a person, you can speak directly to them and get out of them what you need.
That's terrific. Yeah, Deshanna, you really led the way to my next question. Really thinking about, what does it take as adults for us to create cultures where we can elevate young voices, see what they know, what they want, how they can use transferable skills to apply them to these various career opportunities. Adam, we've spoken about just at JP Morgan Chase, also the influence of, the trainings that we do, and what we're going to talk about later in this day, in this event, about infusing mentoring mindsets, building those cultures to be inclusive, to be welcoming to young people, and to create cultures where everyone can thrive, and bring their best selves to the workplace. So I'm curious where you all stand on that, in terms of in the process of providing these pathways for the young people, and then once they get to the workplace, like you're saying, Deshanna, like creating cultures where then they can, really excel and have opportunities to further their career and advance their goals. So Deshanna, do you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, I was going to say a big part of that is including them. When you allow people to have autonomy over what they're learning, as well as getting the information, they feel a part of the process. And so a big thing for me in detailing this internship that the Chamber will be rolling out is making sure that the students feel like they're a part of creating the culture, creating what is next, creating what will be coming from the next cohort under them. So I think a big part of that is getting them more involved. Of course, again, they don't know what they don't know, so there will be structure and infrastructure set for them to have a guidepost, but really getting them activated and involved in the creation of the culture of the business, I think is important.
I would say,
go ahead.
Randy.
Go ahead, Adam, go ahead.
I was just going to say, from an employer perspective, I think it is important for us to have our employees serve as mentors to young people, because they need to be mentors in a life as well, whether it be with their family, with their communities, or with the people that are on their team. You are going to continue to be a mentor throughout life. And I think having an understanding both of including others' perspectives, being exposed to their backgrounds, their communities, their experiences, makes you a better human, and it makes you a better employer and a better employee. And I think it's important when we're designing mentorship programs to know what you want on all sides of the spectrum. What do you want to allow the young people to have access to? How are you building that awareness? How are you building those pathways and that skills development? And then from the mentor perspective, how are you ensuring that they feel comfortable showing up authentically as well? Do they feel like they're trained? Do they feel like they know what they're getting into, to ensure that they can bring their best selves to that mentorship relationship and really build a connection with the young person, who I think then will not only have a better experience, but to Deshanna's point a little bit, will be then able to show their passion, be able to make those connections, feel like they're getting what they want, and understand what the benefit of this experience is.
And what Deshanna and Adam said is great. I don't think I need to speak, but but in regards to for government, with government, young people are kind of leery to how to talk to us, right? Because they don't know if we're going to listen to them or not, or we're just going to shush them off, right? So one of the things that we have to do, and what I did when I was in the city at the Department of Youth and Community Development, and then now being here, is making sure that they're sitting at the table, right? We have to make sure the young people are sitting at the table because they know best what they need. All right. I see us as the purse. I see them as the idea. So they have to come and be able to provide us with what they need. And then we look to be able to fund that so that they can move, because the goal is hopefully that they will become us eventually, after taking up all the resources that are available to them. So the best promoter of a business is a happy employee, right? The best promoter of a particular youth experience is a youth, or the student, or the young person. So we basically have to do that in the communities, and we have to send government, get from behind the desks all the time, go into your communities and see what they want, and do those focus groups and those round tables so that we can move the services along.
Thank you. And you can see this conversation, we could keep going. We made this a very short, but hopefully very enriching conversation. Just for a last final thoughts, in this last minute, I'd love to hear from each of you on, you sort of mentioned this in your intros, but what is top of mind for you, like in this next coming year? What do you really want to see in this work, and something that you just is, really exciting for you as the next step in this work? Anyone want to kick us off?
For me, basically, is getting more youth programming in the communities that we serve. I want to make sure that the youth have opportunities where there are employment opportunities, educational opportunities, or if they need some type of mental health opportunities, they have those available. So my goal is to make sure that they have everything that they need in order to, advance and from where they are, once they leave high school, or even before high school, giving them the opportunity so that they are prepared for that versus having to choose another course of action because they don't have anything available to them. So working with the various municipalities in Westchester to make sure that we are providing them with the resources so that they can help those young people as well as their families, because it's not only the young people, you got to help the families as well, because they're the ones who are going to steer these young people to where they need to be. So making sure that that is available. So that's what I'm focused on for the next year.
And I'll just jump right in. For me, it's retention of the collegiate student here in this area with schools like UAlbany and PI and St. Rose and Sage, and it could go on. And one of the best top associate programs through Hudson Valley. And I mean, their offerings are limitless, but seeing how much of that talent leaves this region really saddens me. So my biggest thing is being able to connect with those students. A lot of this, we're in the era of the entrepreneur. And I want people to see this region as a place that they can live, work, and play, that they can start a business, grow a business, can also build generational wealth, because we understand that that is what's going to, at least for Black and Brown businesses, really going to change the dynamic here in this region. And so I am focused on making sure we retain that talent and so that we can create that generational wealth building system, ecosystem that we want to see.
And for me, I would say the firm itself has built out a number of fellowships and internships over the years, which is great to see, and there are more coming online. I think what my goal is to ensure that the mentorship programs that we're doing are creating that pathway into those internships, that we're focused and making sure that they're connected, that they're sustainable, that we're giving those students the opportunity to be top candidates for those internships, those fellowships, to understand what the skills are, and making sure that the time we're taking with our mentorship programs are helping the young people have that connection and exposure to those programs as well, because there are limitations of what we can do within our mentorship programs. But if we are connecting them to those internships, if we're connecting them to those fellowships, they can continue that learning, continue that connection, and ideally land in those roles that they want to be developing their careers, and ideally be good mentors down the road.
Thank you all so much. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you. We will let you know if folks have follow-up questions or anything, and I really appreciate your perspective, your time, your expertise in this area. So thank you.